Hi everybody. We have the first day of class canceled obviously for today, so I decided I was going to do a little video introduction so that we don't fall too far behind. The myth schedule right now is pretty tight, so I want to have you guys go through a few things, and I'm going to kind of walk you through Blackboard with this video. You could put the video on and then open up Blackboard and kind of look through it, and I'm just going to go through basically the syllabus, the semester schedule, the assignments, what's expected of you, and I'm also going to upload onto Blackboard. It's not there at the moment, but I'm going to put up the intro notes, introduction to mythology, and then some definitions of mythology, some things that I would usually go over on the first class. I'm going to try to go over it anyways the first time we meet, which will be next week, I hope. But I probably won't be able to take as much time with it as I wanted to, because I usually take at least an hour or more to do that, and there's so much stuff scheduled. Let me have you guys follow along with me the best that you can. If you guys are on Blackboard, go to, by the way, I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Alan DiDonato. I'm going to be your instructor for the semester at Central Piedmont. I not only teach mythology, but I also teach a number of other humanities classes and philosophy classes, including ancient medieval humanities, logic, ethics, and I also serve as the discipline chair for humanities, philosophy, and religion. So that's who I am. My background is in classics for the most part. I studied classics as an undergraduate and got my master's degree in classical archaeology, so my expertise is in Greek and Roman archaeology, ancient history, and I also went on and got a master's degree in philosophy. So those are my two main areas. Hopefully I won't. I just lost the internet, so I just was able to get it back up. But that's enough about me. Mythology is one of my favorite classes, so I think you guys are going to enjoy this semester. At least that's my hope. Anyways, Blackboard. When you go on Blackboard, the first thing that's going to come up is the announcements page. There's just a very short welcome letter there, so you can read that or not read that. It doesn't really matter. The next thing, I just added a link for a video intro. Obviously, that's where you found this video. I'll be going to send an email in a little bit, which you probably already got if you're watching the video, so never mind. Under Instructor, I have my information, all my contact information, which is also in the syllabus, as well as the information for the division director, Laura Bazan. So if there's any issues that I can't handle for you guys, if you need to talk to somebody above me, she's the division director of ACA, English, and Humanities. So her information is there for you as well. I will add, and I don't have it up there yet, but I'm going to add a place where you can find the intro lecture notes that I just mentioned. I'll probably put them under course documents. So working your way down, the fourth button down is the syllabus. So if you want to click on the syllabus button, the syllabus is all printed on the screen for you, but there's also a PDF that you can print out. And I'm just going to walk through the key elements of the syllabus while I've got you on the video. Got the date, time, location. Under textbooks, this is in the very first box up at the top. There are 3 books that are listed. These are not the only readings that you're going to have for the semester. It's kind of a reading intensive course. There's going to be some PDFs as well, but there are 3 books that you're going to need to use. The first one's the most important. It's Donna Rosenberg's World Mythology, the 3rd edition. It is an anthology of mythology, and I've actually got a copy of it here. I forgot that I had one at my home office, but this is the issue that you're going to need, or the edition that you're going to need. There are earlier editions. They don't have all the stories, so I would definitely get the 3rd edition. It's been in print for a long time, so you could probably find it used rather cheap. So you want to get yourself a copy of that. You also have C.S. Lewis's Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which is something we're going to deal with at the end of the semester, and Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which is also something we're going to deal with at the end of the semester. You may have already read those 2, and there's movie versions of both of them, which are pretty decent. They're not as good, they're never as good as the books, but we're going to definitely handle Harry Potter a little bit this semester as well. Below that, you've got the last date to withdraw being February 20th if you decide that you can't take the class for any reason or don't want to. We've got the date for the final exam. That's the exam week schedule. It's just normal for us. It's going to be on a Wednesday night. It'll be the last Wednesday that we're meeting. And then my contact information is listed under there as well. My office is actually on the central campus. It's in the library or the Learning Resource Center, and it's room 416. I'm there on Tuesdays and Thursdays, basically between 10 and 12:30, and then 2 and 4 in the afternoon on both of those days. I will hold office hours on the Levine campus, but only on Monday afternoons from 3 to 4:30. I don't have an office there, so I'm just going to grab a cubicle on the 3rd floor, and you can usually track me down pretty easily if you need to talk to me there. It's always best to make an appointment before you either swing by my office or try to get me during office hours, because sometimes meetings come up and I'm not able to actually be in my office. So, or if I have another student that's meeting with me, I can't fit you in. I don't want you to show up at the door and I tell you, I'm sorry, I can't take your questions. Last thing under there is the preferred contact method, which is email. Definitely contact me by email. It's always better than phone. I respond to the emails as quickly as I can, usually within a day or so. And please include the class that you're in the section, because I've got too many classes to remember who's in which section. I've got like 7 classes, and it's always easier if I know exactly where to look, if I've got to pull up your grades or look for something or other for you guys. Okay, going down the syllabus further, you get the course description, the learning outcomes. You can read those on your own. There's a section that says core competencies. This class is conducting what's called a core competency assessment, and it's part of an initiative that the college has for most of the classes. Eventually it's going to be all the classes that the college offers. The thing that they're evaluating for this particular course is a critical core competency called personal growth and cultural literacy. So there's going to be an assignment that deals with it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be giving you 2 assignments. One of those is going to be the official one, and it's a little essay that will be done at the end of the semester on the meaning and value of heroism. So in the syllabus I just included the rubric and just an announcement about that. You could read over that, and as we go through the introduction I'll tell you a little bit more about that assessment and where it's found in Blackboard. Okay. Below that you've got the evaluation assessment section, which is going to give you all the course requirements for the semester, and it's going to tell you basically which percentage of your grade is going to come from each. So at the top you've got tests. There are going to be 3 tests that are 20%. Sorry, I changed it because I modified some things. The first semester I've done a few changes. Each test is going to be 15% of your grade. So all 3 tests total are going to be 45% of the grade. There's a note that on the 3rd test there's an essay, which you're going to find on Blackboard, and you'll do that ahead of time. So when you come into the last day of class, before you take test 3, there's going to be a myth function essay that you're going to have to turn in, and it's going to count as 50% of the last test. Okay? So that's the top section. Then you've got ethical self-awareness evaluation. That is the critical core as part of that. And there are 2 ethical self-awareness evaluations you'll be doing. The first one is on creation myths, and it's a basic essay on creation and meaning, and that is going to be worth 5% of your overall grade. And then the second ethical self-awareness evaluation is going to be on the meaning and value of heroism, and that's the one that's counted as your critical core assessment, and that also is 5% of your final grade. Below that you'll see where it says term paper and presentation. There's going to be 1 term paper that'll be due at the middle point of the semester, and I'll go over topics hopefully today on this overview, and then there'll be a presentation which will be done somewhere at the end of the semester live and in class, and that's going to be worth the final, sorry, not the final, but it's going to be worth 10% of your overall grade for that presentation. It could be done as group or as an individual. And then the final thing, which makes up the final 15% of your overall grade, is a series of pop quizzes. I'm going to give you quizzes periodically unannounced at the beginning of class just to make sure that you guys are reading, and they're always going to be very basic quizzes that have to do with the readings assigned for that week. Okay, and they're going to come unannounced. I will tend to drop the lowest of the quiz grades, but I will give you a handful of quiz grades scattered throughout the semester. Okay, so the breakdown is right under there. You've got tests 45%, ethical self-awareness evaluations total 10%, term paper 20%, presentations 10%, pop quizzes 15%. Okay, so that's your full 100%. And when you look up your grade in Blackboard, you always want to pay attention to the weighted average. Do not calculate the points because everything's weighted differently, so you're not going to be able to figure out your grade based purely on points. Okay, attendance policies below there. You're not allowed to miss more than 20% of the class meeting times, and since we only meet 16 times throughout the semester, I'd say 3 classes is the most you can miss and still pass the course. However, there's also the stop attending policy that CP has, which says if you miss 2 weeks in a row, I've got to drop you from the course, and I cannot allow you back in after that. So be aware that you can miss 3 classes, but make sure no 2 of them are back-to-back 2 weeks in a row. Okay? Following down is basically policies of the college, with the exception of electronic devices. You shouldn't have electronic devices in class. Basically, cell phones should be off. No texting. Laptops, you can ask me and I'll let you know whether I'll let you use one. As long as it's for schoolwork, I usually don't have a problem with that. Makeup assignments, if there's something that we're doing like a test and you're not there the day of a test, I will put the test in the testing center and you can make that up when you get back, usually within a week of getting back. Pop quizzes I don't allow for makeups because I'm going to drop the lowest grades anyway, so if you miss one, that'll be a 0, and that's probably going to be one of the grades I drop. Other than that, more contact information on the Humanities Department office, withdrawal policy, inclement weather policy. And that's pretty much it for the syllabus. So now you can print that out if you want to. As long as you skim through it and read it and understand what's in there, that's fine by me. The thing I do want you to print out is actually the next thing down. So if you go down to the 5th button, click on that, it says semester schedule. I want to walk you through this. There's actually 2 folders under there. One is the semester schedule. One is a folder that says paper and project topics. So let's go into the semester schedule first. Please print this off because this is going to tell you what you're doing each week, what your reading assignments are, if there's homework due, when it's due, when papers are due, and you can just follow along, kind of check things off as we go over the semester. So unfortunately, we're missing the first day. So the first day, it says Wednesday the 17th of January, which is today. It's snowing outside, and we don't have class tonight. So that throws me way behind. If you'll notice, there are a few things listed, introductions. I usually have you guys introduce yourselves and do a little talking amongst yourselves and introduce each other to the class. I'm going to have to skip that, unfortunately, so it's going to be a little harder for me to get to know you guys, but hopefully dialoguing throughout the semester we'll get to know each other a little bit. Syllabus, paper topics, all this stuff is going to be done on the video where it says Introduction to Mythology. That I'm going to do next week. I'm going to do an abbreviated version, which is very difficult for me because I'm long-winded and tend to go much longer than I need to sometimes. But I'm going to include the notes for the introduction so that you'll have everything that's essential in case I leave something off by accident and it's on a test. You have the notes for it. Okay. Then you'll notice there's a homework assignment. I'm going to give you guys this right now. It's a very brief assignment. What I want you to do in the coming week is I want you to think of or find a handful of references to mythology in everyday life. Okay, it specifically says outside assignment. Come up with at least a list of 10 mythological references found in our everyday American culture, objects, pictures, advertisements, newspaper clippings, etc. It might be difficult if you've never taken a mythology class or don't really know what mythology covers. It might be hard. You might be hearing words in just everyday conversation that have to do with mythology. There's a lot of words in the English language that are rooted in mythology. There are all kinds of things around you, images and advertisements, stuff like that, that again, if you don't know mythology, you wouldn't be able to even recognize it as having a mythological background. But most of you should be able to come up with at least a couple. I'm looking for a list of 10, but if you can come up with at least one, I want to spend maybe 5 minutes next class just talking about what you've come up with. And the point of the assignment is just to get you to think about how much mythology has actually impacted our culture that you don't even realize. So that's the first homework assignment. It's not going to be graded. If you don't do any or don't find any references, I'm not going to hold it against you, but I'd like you to at least start thinking about this kind of stuff. Next week, we're supposed to do the beginning of the first section of the course, which is on creation myths. I'm going to try to do the intro to mythology and then do an introduction to creation myths specifically, and then get into the actual readings. Now, for next week, there are 3 myths that I wanted to go over. I want to go over the Genesis account of creation that's found in the book of Genesis in the Old Testament. That is something new I'm going to do this year. Have not done that in the past, so I've included in the PDF folder and the readings folder those couple chapters of Genesis for you. Then you've got the Enuma Elish, which is a Babylonian creation myth. The textbook has most of the readings, so you'll notice there are page numbers, and all the page numbers refer to things you'll find in this book. Then the other story, that's on actually page 6 to 11, the Enuma Elish. And then the other story in this book for next week is the story of Osiris, Isis, and Horus, which is an Egyptian myth found on pages 15 to 21. Then you have probably the biggest reading assignment for the semester, which I'm going to give you several weeks to accomplish. It's also something new that I'm doing this year. We're going to be having at the Sensoria Festival a scholar on Frankenstein that's going to be joining us, and let me tell you guys more about it as we get closer to the event. But it's something I'm going to want you guys to attend, and I'll probably assign extra credit for attending. But I'm going to have us, in preparation for his talk, read Frankenstein. And it is a wonderful story that's very much connected to mythology, specifically the Greek myth of Prometheus and the biblical creation story that we find in the book of Genesis. So I'd like you to begin reading that as well. And I've assigned the first section of Frankenstein, letter 1, because it begins with a couple letters, and then it goes into the chapters. So I want you to read the beginning, letter 1, up through chapter 9 if you can in the week that's coming. The following week you'll be reading chapters 10 to 18, and the following week after that you'll be reading chapters 19 to the end. So you've got 3 weeks really to read the entirety of Frankenstein, and I've included the entire book for you in a PDF file in the readings folder, which I'll tell you where that is in a little bit. Okay, so you've got the whole thing there. You don't need to purchase a copy. If you've never read it, it's a classic. It's very different. If you've seen a Frankenstein movie, it's very different from most every Frankenstein movie that's ever been made, with the exception of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with Robert De Niro, which is pretty close to the book, though it's not nearly as good. So it's been a long time since I've read it. It's been years actually. So I've been reading it again myself in preparation for the course. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. But that's what's next week, so it's quite a bit of reading right up front. The week after that we'll be dealing with the creation myths of the Greeks, and you've got a few readings there. Some of them are in the readings folder. It says where they're located in the actual course schedule itself. And we'll be doing some Hindu mythology. The week after that we'll be moving into China, Ireland, and the Norse territory for some Viking mythology. And then we'll finish up with the week after that. By the time we get to our 6th class, we're going to have our first test. You'll also see that Ethical Self-Awareness Evaluation 1 is due at that time. That's the Creation and Meaning evaluation. Test 1, and this should all be on February 21st. And then after Test 1 on the same evening, since we meet for a long period, I'm going to begin the next section of the course, which is on fertility myths. The papers, if you follow down, are going to be due on March 7th. Those will be submitted through Blackboard. The second test should fall on March 21st. And after the second test, then we begin work on the, what's it called? The hero myths, which are actually the longer readings of the semester. You'll see also presentations are going to be scattered throughout the end of the semester. Voyage of the Dawn Treader and Harry Potter are going to be dealt with on the last class, which should be May 2nd. Your myth function essay is due, and test 3 is due on the last day of class. And what I forgot to put in here is Ethical Self-Awareness Evaluation number 2. You can make a change. That's going to be due, let's say, at the evening when we're also doing the heroic journey in Harry Potter. So we'll say May 2nd will be Ethical Self-Awareness Evaluation 2. I'll try to make the change and upload that onto Blackboard. Alright. That's the semester schedule. Next thing is a button that says Term Abroad. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Term Abroad, but I'm not going to spend as much time as I wanted to, so I included under the Term Abroad button a video. If you click on Term Abroad in Spain, France, Italy 2018, it'll open up, what's it called? Kind of a WebEx video that I made last summer, and it's about a 20-minute video. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but it's just me kind of telling you guys about the trip. Then I've included information about the trip, how to enroll in the trip, the itinerary of what we're going to do when we're over in Europe this coming May. And I really hope you guys give some consideration to traveling as a student. This trip's going to be great. We've done them before. And like I said, I'll tell you more about those later. Okay, go down to, actually go back up to semester schedule, because there's another folder in there that I forgot, paper and project topics. So let me pause 1 second and check and make sure this camera is still filming. Sometimes the batteries run out or the video. Yeah, I still have some footage in there. It doesn't have the biggest little disc inside, so sometimes I run out of space. All right, under projects and paper topics, I've got topics listed for you. At the top there are 6 options for your term paper. Gives you the requirements of what the term paper length and everything are. A lot of variety in the options here. If you also have an idea for a topic that you want to write on that's not listed, run it by me and I'll tell you whether or not it's a good idea or not. But most of these I think are going to be fun. Some of them have to do with myth in the movies, some have to do with myth in comic books and graphic novels and video games, some have to do with myth as propaganda, heroism in society. There's a lot of different things you can do, but read carefully the description that I give you so you'll know what I'm looking for. And right below that I've given you 5 topics for presentations. And presentations which are going to be presented in class, and hopefully we'll have the opportunity to use PowerPoint and other visual aspects. I would like you guys to be focusing on your presentation topics on myth in the arts. So these topics are going to have to do with mythology in painting, or mythology in sculpture, or music, or theater, or again film. And you're to pick one of those to stick with and come up with a presentation where you give people in the class an exposure to mythology in the various arts. That could usually be a lot of fun. I've had a lot of different variety over the course of the years. I've had students that were artists themselves that just decided to do their own original works and just came in with sculptures and paintings and all kinds of different stuff to show the class, and it was fantastic. But you don't have to be that creative. A slideshow and PowerPoint is fine for looking at Renaissance painting or ancient Greek vase painting or even modern illustrations that you can find. So look over that. It gives you a little bit of a guidance, and at the bottom it tells you, as far as the papers go, what counts as A, B, C, D. Note here is I do not usually give Fs on papers unless they are really, really late. My policy for papers is that I will accept a late paper because I'd rather give you a high F than a 0. And the way it's done, since the papers are uploaded into Blackboard, there's a due date. If it's uploaded by midnight of that day, it's going to be full credit. Every day late the paper is, I drop a letter grade. Right? So a day late it's a B, 2 days a C, drops down to a D, and so on. And I'm not going to come after you guys to turn papers in. So if you get to the end of the semester and you have not turned a paper in, you'll notice there's no grade there, and it's going to automatically average as a 0, and it's going to bring your grade down pretty good since it's 20% of your overall grade. Even if you submit in the very last day something of a paper, I will give you something of a grade, okay, just to be fair. But it's up to you to be responsible for doing that. It will be an F, but at least it'll be, let's say, a 50 as opposed to a 0. Okay, I think that's fair. Excuse me, I've been getting over a cough and a little cold for the last couple of weeks. Alright, now go down to the Course Documents button, which is right below Term Abroad. Here is where I will attach the Intro to Mythology notes and the Intro to Mythology definitions of myth, which I'll go over next class. So these are kind of lengthy notes that, again, if there's something I leave out of the lecture, you can find it here. So I'll put, those aren't there now, hopefully I'll remember, but that's where you should find them. At the very top you've got something that says Myth Functions. There is another sheet of notes there that is going to give you all the functions of mythology. That's going to be important in Test 1. There's going to be some questions about the function of mythology. The myth function essay that's due for Test 3. You're going to be utilizing this as well, so this is something you probably want to print out and study and at least learn what the functions are. I'll go over those in class briefly next class when I meet you guys. Okay, so that's at the top. Since I just mentioned tests, the study guides are in the second folder in this thing. So there's a study guide for each of the 3 tests. Gives you all the things you need to know, names, definitions, some basic questions to think about to help you prepare. This will help you kind of weed through your notes and know what is testable and what's not testable. But the second, or rather the first folder, says Assigned Readings PDFs. So a lot of these are new this semester, so I just wanted to open it and remember myself what's in there. You got the Genesis account of creation from the English Standard Version of the Bible. You've got Hesiod, two excerpts from Hesiod's Theogony and Works and Days. Those are 2 of his big poems We're talking 8th century BC, very old Greek poetry in translation, and they both have to deal with the story of Prometheus, though they're very difficult. I'd like you to try to read them. They're not exceptionally long, but then under that I've got an account of Prometheus, very brief account of Prometheus found in the Roman poet Ovid. So I've included that as well. So we'll deal with those when we get to Prometheus in the second week on creation myths. And then below that is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So you've got the entire Frankenstein text, the 1831 edition PDF. Also, I should probably mention this before I forget it. I know reading can be time consuming, right? And I've given you a lot of reading for the course of the semester. The readings are going to be fun. Hopefully you have an open mind to this kind of literature. I enjoy it. You, I think, will enjoy it as well if you like fantasy or anything in that genre. When it comes to classic accounts like Frankenstein, if you don't have time to sit and read the entire book, which is what I'd like you to do, there is a website, I'm trying to remember what it's called LibriVox. LibriVox, I believe it's Librivox. Maybe wrong, but you can look that up, and it is a collection of public domain literature, older literature being read by volunteers. And I'm almost betting you could find Frankenstein in an audio version, probably broken down by chapter. So if you drive a lot, or if you're doing things and you don't have time to actually read the book, you could probably just, there's an app I got on my cell phone. I don't have my cell phone with me, but I've got a LibriVox app. You can just look up Frankenstein and just play it through your iPhone. And that might be a way to save you a little bit of time so you can get through the book better. Now, the readers are not necessarily the best, they're volunteers, but it's still somebody reading you the book, so you don't have to read it yourself. So think about that. Okay, so that I think is everything under course documents. Next thing down is the ethical self-awareness. So if you go under that button, you've got two things that show up: ethical self-awareness evaluation 1, and then you've got the PDF document there to print off. And then below that is where you will attach the file when you write your essay and submit it. The second one is below that. This is the Ethical Self-Awareness Evaluation 2, the meaning and value of heroism. So the document is there. So again, you could print that off, write your essay, and then upload that in the link below that says Essay Ethical Self-Awareness Evaluation 2. That link will upload it to Gradebook, where I will grade it, and then your grades will show up automatically. Okay, so those are there. The button below that is the term paper submission area. It actually says turn paper. I'll have to change that. So that's where you submit your papers midway through the semester. The button below that is the myth function essay. And there's two things here. You've got the actual, it says Gen Ed assessment question. That is the myth function essay. So you want to print that off, and I'll guide you as to what I'm expecting you to write for your essay. And then below that is a student preparation worksheet, which I've used as extra credit in the past. So if you guys want to fill out that worksheet and submit it for a few extra credits on one of the tests, I'm willing to do that. It's basically there to help you organize your thoughts before you write the essay. Okay, and that is the thing that is due for test 3. All right. Below that, really nothing of importance. The discussion board section is blank. So yeah, that's the last button that's really important for you guys. So hopefully that oriented you to the class, you get a little bit of an idea of what's expected. I'm probably not going to do any kind of intro to mythology on the video. I'm probably going to want to wrap up the video, get that posted for you, and make a few changes as far as errors that I've noticed. So again, for next week, try to do the list of mythological references, begin reading Frankenstein or listening to Frankenstein, and then read the Genesis account, the Enuma Elish, and the story of Osiris, and then I will try to get us caught up the best I can. We may be behind for a couple classes, but hopefully we will at some point catch up. So thank you. Sorry we didn't get to meet on our first day, but enjoy the time off from school, and I look forward to a good semester with you guys. So thank you.